this middle round here, right? 5 through 8. And I think this is the part where a lot of people are like, okay, do I need to start reaching here? And you're dead smack in the middle of the draft. And here at the 105, I think there's a pretty good consensus as like a top 3 in ADP, I would say. Like Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb seem to be like the consensus pick. Bijan and Breece Hall are working their way up. We've seen Jamar Chase go there at times. Amon-Ra St. Brown has crept into this top 4 at times now. But this 5 through 8 spot, pick 5 gives you a chance to like be reactionary to what's happened in the draft so far. So if 3 receivers and 1 running back have gone, now you can start to apply yourself and take a running back or maybe find value there. If maybe the running backs are going heavy, and we've seen Breece Hall, Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson have gone in the top 4. Now here at the 105, I think this is a really good spot, Tyler. And I've seen a lot of really good teams come from this middle range, especially here at the 105 position.
No, I agree. I keep saying the same thing, but it's pretty similar to like the 104 range. And honestly, it comes down to just the first round, in my opinion, is kind of like who you want, kind of thing. Like you may not be able to get the player that you really want because he could end up being taken with those first 4 picks. So it's just, you slightly maybe miss out. But if you're like, man, I love JJ, I think he's severely underrated this year. Most of the time he's available there at the 105. So you're just able to get, it kind of depends on who you really want this season in the first round. And then like second round, you're still able to get quality players. But the further we get down to like 6 and 7, 8 is kind of where I really don't want to be at. And it's not because of the first round, it's more the second round for me personally, just because a lot of these players that I view in the second round that are going early second round, you could argue that are very, very similar to the players that are going in the third round, but now you have to wait just a little bit longer in the third round to get another guy. So if I had to pick one, like in this range, I would definitely prefer 5 because you get a little bit more time to get a guy that's going in the third that I think is still really good. Not to say that third round targets aren't good. They're still good. There's still a lot of quality players here, but it just starts to creep up where you got to just start taking these guys a little bit earlier, maybe reaching a little bit like what you say to really secure your guy rather than just kind of scooping him up as he falls later in the second.
Well, I feel like if you like maybe proven players, this is a really good spot to draft in because you're going to get your guys, the Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, like the guys who have been there that aren't the newer names. You're not having to take, like here at the 105 and maybe the 106, you're not getting, for the most part, Puka Nacua, Marvin Harrison Jr. You're not getting Garrett Wilson. Those guys aren't typically falling that far. So if you're into the younger players, I would say you'd want to be maybe towards the later round, first round pick, you'd want to be pick 109, 110, 111. But if you're into a lot of the value players, I would say names that are kind of expired, I would say in the fantasy space that aren't the sexy names anymore, this is a really good spot to acquire that depth, not only just on the second round, but in the third round as well. You can get even like a DK Metcalf, at Alvin Kamara if you want to reach on him, Joe Mixon. We've seen DJ Moore go in this range. Like there's a lot of players in that 5 through 6 range in the third round where you're going to have some names that have been consistent top 10 players for years, and maybe they're just falling because now we're anticipating new people entering into the top 10. And then even working your way down into the middle, I also see a lot of value. Sometimes that's where you're able to see, all right, have quarterbacks been going. I've talked about this in the top 4 rounds, but if quarterbacks are going now, you can find, okay, maybe Anthony Richardson has slipped way further than he should. Maybe CJ Stroud is down here now because everybody else is addressing. So you got a chance to get a layout of the land and now evaluate and take one of those positions as well.
No, that's true too. You get to just, a lot of times it falls perfectly in your lap. You could walk away from this draft and you're just like, everybody I wanted just fell, and it's just how it goes from this range. So,
6 and 7, pick 6 and 7, right? That's absolutely dab smack in the middle of the draft. You get one pick and then you got to wait. One pick and then you got to wait versus like kind of being able to say, I know what 2 players, I have a group of players in mind that I want to take. You're kind of at the mercy of how the draft is going. But in the middle rounds too, you can see what runs have happened. You can find some value. And I think I start to see a lot of like the younger players go, we talked about Jefferson, Chase in the first round, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson. That's a really good spot for one of those guys to draft at that 106 and 107. and then you're still coming around and there's a lot of talent left in the middle of your draft. So when you're dead smack in the middle of the draft, Tyler, how do you play that? Like if there are runs going, do you feel like it's smart to go with the run? Do you feel like you should start one of the runs? How do you feel in the middle of the draft? Because you kind of are like, you don't really have a chance to be like, these are the players I know I'm going to get. You have to be like, damn, I hope he falls to me next round. Damn, I hope he falls to me next round.
I think it's kind of like both, because so the way I look at it is, if there's a run happening and you really like say a tight end run's happening and you really like a tight end that's still on the board, then I mean, just take him. But if you're like, say a tight end run's kind of happening in the 4th round, you have like Sam Laporta goes and like Travis Kelce goes a little bit before you in the 3rd. So then like Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride go, and you're kind of sitting there and it's like, man, I might have to take a tight end because Mark Andrews and like say Kyle Pitts could go in the beginning of the 5th round. And I don't have a chance to get them in the 5th round there for my pick. They won't be gone. Maybe I'm stuck with like George Kittle and Evan Ingram. And I don't really want to take them there either. So it's kind of you got to make the decision for yourself. Like, do you want to take these players? Like, do you think that they're in the same tier, or is it kind of slightly in the same, like a different tier, and there's better players that are going around them that should be ranked a little bit higher, or you just feel better about those players? So you're kind of at the mercy of what happens a little bit in that regard. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't be afraid to start a run. Say like sometimes you see it, the 5th pick, say you have the 5th pick in like the 3rd round. I've seen it plenty of times where like Josh Allen hasn't went, and you're kind of like, I really want to take Josh Allen. I want to have, potentially the best quarterback in fantasy football. And then you're going to probably see Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes gone potentially by your next pick, and you want to lock up one of these guys. So I wouldn't be afraid to ever start one. But the worst thing, the worst thing to happen is you start to run and then Jalen Hurts is there in the 5th round or in the 4th round. You know what I mean? You're like,
Yeah.
I could have waited and I could have had it. So it just comes down to like how the board's playing out. And really the best thing that you can do, I always say this, is just draft in tiers. Look at where the certain tiers are. Know if I miss out, if I take this player, the next tier of running backs, I'm kind of getting the bottom of the tier, but I still really like these guys. So it just comes down to that. I wouldn't be afraid to hop on or even start it though, personally.
See, and with runs, man, it's weird because I feel like if you always finish the run, you got the worst value, right? Like even if you get your guy, it's like you might have been able to get him another. If you waited another turn, sometimes they pop up, and there's so much talent in this year's draft that unless there's just a clear tier break, like when we talked about, the wide receivers having a tier break at around the 35 range, unless there's a clear tier break, to me, I think you can find talent in this draft like David Njoku and Evan Ingram at tight end were startable last year. They're not who I would want, but they have startability. And so I think in the middle rounds, it gives you a good time to assess, all right, am I at a good place now where I feel comfortable with my lineup where I do want to take a quarterback right now, or I do want to take a tight end right now. Is the value there? And if you're in the middle, like you said, the middle of 3rd round, I prefer middle of the 4th round for like for a quarterback, and then a little bit more in the 6th round for a tight end. But if you look at those positions and you're like, all right, now I think I'm getting good value. If I take Josh Allen right now, everybody else kind of seems to have their positions filled out. Or you can continue to wait and be like, all right, here's the next tier. I want to start the next tier of quarterbacks or the next tier of tight ends. And I think a player who typically goes in that range is like Kyler Murray for me in like the 7th or 8th round, and I feel comfortable about getting him much later after a lot of people have taken the CJ Strouds, the Anthony Richardsons, the Lamar Jacksons, etc. Like the upper echelon quarterbacks. I feel like he's that next tier, and I feel good about taking him, and people normally wait. So it's a good time to assess. I think the 6 and 7 spot in your draft is a really good time to assess what's going on, get the needs of your team. But I think this is a really good value spot in drafts.
No, I agree. But I will kind of counter that and say I've been part of many drafts where it's like, okay, I'm going to take, I want to go Josh Allen here. Well, maybe I'll get a wide receiver. And then a run on quarterbacks happens. And it's like, am I going to take Anthony Richardson in the 4th round? You could say, yeah, you could. Or it's like, maybe I'll risk it. And hopefully he comes in the 5th round. Then it's like, okay, he doesn't. All right, I'll wait for Kyler. And then Kyler ends up going in the 7th round. And it's like, son of a, you're just missing out. So yes, you can always kind of be there and you don't, I will say you don't really want to start the run, but sometimes it's honestly better to start the run just to ensure that you get a guy. Now, it all, once again, comes down to preference. Do you want to lock up
Yes.
an elite quarterback or an elite tight end? Then this is the range where you got to make the decision if it's the third round, because there could be a chance where I've seen it plenty of times, third round, end of the third round, fourth round, a lot of those elite quarterbacks are gone. There's a big run on quarterbacks or tight ends. So you got to really decide for yourself, all right, am I going to just do it? And if I don't do it, am I okay with the worst case scenario, just waiting on the quarterback position as the last guy? So you got to make the decision for yourself and how you want to build out your roster.
Yeah, definitely different strategies. There's going to be people who love early quarterbacks. That's Tyler. I think you prefer earlier quarterbacks. I prefer later quarterbacks like a Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy. That doesn't really bother me. Joe Burrow. So all depends on your strategy. And that's why we're having this conversation, right? Because you got to be able to see different vantage points and different viewpoints, even from like the 108, where I kind of feel like that's where the last main, top 8 guy, I would say, like that's the last spot there. Are you comfortable with any of these guys in the top 8? And I would say the consensus across the board top 8, I have it slightly different, but the consensus top 8 is CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, St. Brown, Bijan and Brees, Jamar Chase. I feel like Justin Jefferson. That kind of feels like the consensus top 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I think, like, for me personally, and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier too. Like, I think that the first round is just stacked. Like, I
Yeah.
love so many. Like, I love Garrett Wilson. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. So if I'm sitting here at the 108, I'm okay with it. But once again, like the biggest problem for me, so for me personally, is just I think that there's a top 14 players is how I view it this year. Like, I think for me, there's a clear top 14. And with the 108, it's just kind of like you and you can say kind of what you said, like you get the end of a potentially the first group of players, but you can even be sitting there and you're like, I mean, I don't love Garrett Wilson. I don't love Jahmyr Gibbs. He's splitting. AJ Brown. I mean, I love the player, but like you could be sitting here and it's like, I don't really like the first round as much as those early guys. And then also in the second round, I just once again, it's like you
Yeah.
kind of picking these guys like right at the beginning, and it's just really unfortunate because those guys get one of the top players in the draft, and then also get a guy that, once again, I say this all the time, could arguably be going early second round. So it's just like it's a weird spot, and honestly, you can build a championship roster here. I just kind of don't like it for the start, but like
Right.
those middle rounds, you're still able to get some really quality players.
I would say at this pick 108 specifically, be careful if this is a receiver. Because if this ends up being like, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, if somebody slips down there or you reach on like a Garrett Wilson at the 108, just be very careful because when you come around that turn, the rest of the top running backs are going to be gone. Saquon goes, Gibbs goes, Taylor goes. And then if you take another receiver at your next pick, which is where most ADP lies, you're taking like a Marvin Harrison, Drake London, Ayuk, Evans, whoever it is, so whoever's in that 10 through 20 receiver range that you like, there's probably going to be a receiver that you're going to be tempted to take in that range. And then a lot of other running backs go. We see Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs go, Devin Achane, Travis Etienne. You might get an Alvin Kamara or Joe Mixon on the way back. You may get an Isaiah Pacheco. But that's also a very risky proposition if you decide to go 0 RB, or maybe you're like, I don't want to address running back in those top spots. Be careful with that 108, because if the run on running backs happens, you might be a little disappointed with who's left in that mid-tier RB2 to back end RB2 range.